So you're here at TechEd this week, and you're doing a talk. The minute I saw the title, I really wanted to talk to you about it, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get to your session, so I'm anxious to learn about it here. But it was called The Zen of Architecture. And having a minor from college in philosophy, I know a little bit about the Eastern philosophies, but when you couple that with software architecture, that's where I started to wonder, what is it exactly that you mean by the Zen of architecture?
So the Zen of architecture simply states that for the beginner architect, there's also multiple ways and options of doing pretty much anything. But for the master, there's all but a few. I first observed it almost 12 years ago when I was a corporate architect, and I was working with quite a few division and different product lines, and I noticed that, yes, they all work on different product lines, but in the abstract, I'm doing exactly the same with all of them. Mm-hmm. And so I asked myself, can I take it to the next level? Can I distill the sort of thought process, the analytical approach, the question and the answers into almost like a checklist, almost like a meat grinder, fit into it the specific of the application, crank the handle, and get the design at the end? And the answer is yes. And so I developed a process, we call it the I-Design method, or just for short, the method.
Okay.
And the method is nothing short of a highly structured, highly mechanized approach for design. Now, it doesn't take away the creativity. You still have to be the one responsible for getting the core set of use cases and the core set of building blocks and do the proper decomposition. But what the method says, first of all, it can point you in the right direction of how to decompose the system. And once the decomposition is done, the method can mechanize the rest of the design decisions. Kind of like make it just like another happy family. Now, the other thing, if you look at design diagrams, is there, or architecture diagram, like a building or a car or a boat or an airplane or a bridge, none of them actually goes to the details. If I were to look at the plumbing diagram doesn't show where all the couplers and the T's and the unions are. And if you look at the structure diagram, I don't see where every stud is and every drywall 4x8 and every screw is. That's detailed design. You never see it, right? So the method is architecture. It's not detailed design. You will not see the couplers and the studs. If there's a bar that says do authentication here, it doesn't say if it's Windows authentication, ASP.NET membership, federated security. That's all details, right? Now what this gives you is, once the architect is done with the top-level design of the architecture, depending on the composition of the team is how you hand off the design to the developers, but obviously it's an act of detailed design. And what the architect needs to do is to follow up and close the loop, making sure the developers have actually complied with the design. And you use the diagram literally as a building inspector. You go and says, okay, is there a wall here? Did you put the power line here? And kind of like looks at the diagrams. It's exactly the same process. It's not specifically related to the I-Design method. It enables that kind of an inspection review perspective. And that's what I mean when it's a mechanized approach. It's also a wonderful way of disseminating the design knowledge across the team. Time and time again, I interact with architects, and typically in a recovery mode, and the disaster has already happened, and they say, you know, I gave them a good design, they butchered it. Well, they miss the point. A good design is not if it's a good design in the architect's hand, but if it's a good design on a whiteboard with a big don't erase note next to it, or if you have a nice document saying here's the architecture. A good design is only a good design if it survived through developers and they didn't butcher it or castrated it, ending up on a customer machine. Then it's a good design.